the labyrinthine dance of intimacy, a phrase that might evoke the murmur of violins or the tender rustling of old love letters. Yet, for some, it conjures images of an intricate maze lined with invisible barriers, the kind one might find in a mystery novel where the protagonist is challenged by their own trepidations. Today, let's delve into the complexities of why avoidants often fear true intimacy and, perhaps more importantly, how to overcome it. Avoidants, you see, are the architects of their own castles. These aren't the grand fortresses of medieval lore, but rather intricate constructions of self-sufficiency and emotional distance. The title of this exploration, Why Avoidants Fear True Intimacy and How to Overcome It, is a journey into the heart of these fortifications. It asks us to consider what lies beneath those stone walls and drawbridges that are so meticulously crafted. Imagine, if you will, a garden. At its center stands a solitary figure, our avoidant protagonist. They are surrounded by verdant life, yet their focus lies inward, away from the blooms that beg for attention. This is not due to a lack of appreciation for beauty or companionship, but rather a protective mechanism. For them, intimacy is akin to a wild vine, one that could potentially overrun the garden if left unchecked. Our avoidant friend has learned, perhaps through the whispers of childhood or the echoes of past relationships, that vulnerability leads to pain. To love deeply is to risk hurt, and so they construct their barriers. They are the masters of subtle deflection, of changing the subject just as a conversation treads too closely to the heart. Their wit is often sharp, a tool of distraction that keeps others at arm's length, even as it entertains and charms. Consider the tale of a young man. Let's call him Oliver. Oliver was like a cat, curious yet cautious. He was the kind of fellow who saw emotions as a tangled ball of yarn, intriguing but dangerous if one gets ensnared. He had a knack for storytelling, weaving tales that were as vibrant as they were evasive. Each story was a tapestry that revealed everything and nothing, a clever ruse that kept his audience captivated, yet distant from his true self. Oliver's relationships were like rain on a tin roof. There was a rhythm to them, but they never seemed to soak in. His partners would often find themselves caught in a dance of uncertainty, wondering when the next step might lead to a deeper connection, only to find themselves spinning in circles. Oliver's fear was not of the relationship itself, but of losing himself within it, of becoming entangled in a web that demanded more than he felt he could give. Now, one might wonder, how does one overcome such a fear? How does the avoidant learn to embrace the very thing they have spent a lifetime keeping at bay? It begins with a shift in perspective, a willingness to step beyond the comfort of one's own garden and into the untamed wilderness of human connection. It requires the courage to be seen, not just as a storyteller or a solitary figure, but as a soul willing to share its vulnerabilities. The key, dear listeners, lies in understanding that intimacy is not a loss of self, but an expansion of it. It is the realization that true connection does not diminish, but enriches the individual. Like a tapestry, each thread woven together creates a picture far more beautiful than any one strand could alone. For Oliver, this meant learning to let his stories be windows rather than walls, to allow others to glimpse the man behind the words. One evening, Oliver found himself sitting beneath a canopy of stars with a friend who saw through his defenses. As they talked, he felt the familiar urge to retreat into his practiced tales, but something stopped him. It was a question, simple yet profound. What are you afraid of losing? The words hung in the air, a gentle challenge that dared him to confront his own fears. In that moment, Oliver realized that it wasn't the loss of self he feared, but the possibility of rejection, of inadequacy. He saw that his castle, while protecting him, also isolated him from the warmth of genuine companionship, and so he took a tentative step forward, sharing a piece of his heart that had long been hidden. It was a small gesture, a seed planted in fertile ground. Over time, Oliver learned that intimacy, like any garden, requires patience and care. It is nurtured through honesty, through the willingness to be present, even when it feels uncomfortable. He discovered that vulnerability is not a weakness, but a bridge that connects one heart to another. And with each bridge, he found himself less alone, more understood, and ultimately more complete. For those who resonate with Oliver's journey, remember that the path to overcoming the fear of intimacy is not a sprint, but a gentle stroll through one's own emotional landscape. It is about recognizing the patterns that keep you bound and daring to unravel them, one thread at a time. It's about trusting that the world outside your castle is not a threat, but a place filled with potential allies, ready to walk alongside you. In closing, let us embrace the words of a wise poet who once said, "To love and be loved is to feel the sun from both sides." May we all find the courage to stand in that light, to welcome the warmth of true connection, and to let our stories intertwine in ways that enrich not just our own lives, but the lives of those we hold dear.
If you believe this video might help someone dear to you, share it with them. A small gesture on your part could mean the world to a friend in need.